up my spine. Spirits dancing around me, bones restless in time. Walking the haunted lane, head spins like red wine.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Iowa Pagan News on the Prairie Land Radio Network. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Christy Mann, and also our very special guest, Maryen Cairns, coming to us from the UK. You just seen a clip of one of her videos that I was able to get a hold of and show everybody a short clip of it. So welcome, Maryen. Thank you for taking time out to join us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for asking. Nice to be here.
Oh, you're very welcome. Okay, so tell us about you. And is I've been watching several of your live videos that you do on a regular basis, and I got to admit that it's very impressive, and I really enjoy your music, and
Thank you.
that's what really caught my attention.
Well, thank you. Goodness me, it's like, well, I think actually for me, it's been really good working out how to do the live stream thing. You know, I lived up the side of a mountain in Queensland for 15 years, and now I'm living on a little island in the English Channel. And it's like, you know, there's actually more chance of me really now. If there wasn't COVID, I would actually be playing live. But actually discovering the world of the internet as an artist and connecting with people through music has been a really special, wonderful journey for me, and I'm really enjoying it. Yeah.
Excellent. Now, let's see. Have you ever ran across or teamed up with Dom LeBard?
No.
He's over in your neck of the woods.
Okay. I
And
definitely should then.
yeah, the one thing that he has been doing as of late, he's actually been doing living room concerts.
Right.
He's actually been going to people's homes and playing in their living rooms with acoustic guitar.
Yeah. Well, this is something actually I've been thinking of because I'm hoping to play live on the mainland UK, you know, this year. And so we've been talking about setting different shows up, but part of that can be, a house concert, you know, actually, as you said, going into someone's home and all that, you know, with all the regulations and stuff. I've been looking into it, but you know, it's venues. Well, they will have all their own regulations, but in actual fact, you know, it could be a really lovely thing to be, lounge room concerts, you know. Small groups of people. It's like it's fun. It's fun playing, you know, in an intimate way.
Right.
Yeah.
It sure
I
is.
would love to have a concert in my living room.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. It makes me feel like, you know, hey, I should be inviting everyone around to my living room to play. That's it.
So let's see. What was your upbringing like? Did you have a musical background growing up?
Well, it's quite. Well, I did, but it wasn't necessarily what you'd think, because my dad, when I was born, my dad was a Church of Scotland minister, and I was literally, it's horrified me when I found out about it, but I was literally always left by my mum. She used to put me to sleep, you know, in my pram in the sunshine and leave me in the graveyard. Well, they went to church service.
Okie dokie.
Most of the music I guess I was first exposed to was, you know, sort of church music, and it's something that quite kind of well, it's interesting that you are the Iowa Pagan News, and a lot of my own path is certainly not being in the churches. And my parents did always talk to me about sort of spirits and take me to old sites of like churches and point out the sort of
Mhm.
the sort of pagan figures on the rooftops and stuff, and they would always talk about how, Christianity in the UK had come out, had definitely borrowed from from the pagan roots, and that was how it kind of spread. And they were very forward thinkers. Like my dad literally used to teach evolution in Sunday school. So, it wasn't, they were very much forward thinkers. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I could, back in the Dark Ages, when Christianity first formed, it basically did form itself around paganism
Yes.
and took over a lot of uh, images, took over a lot of, well, basically what we consider to be our holidays and um, a lot of things that have pagan roots.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's quite amazing, but I think that was a way of invaders or whatever bringing getting kind of the local populations on side, sort of thing,
mhm,
was to mingle them.
right.
Yeah.
Now, for those who are tuning in on Facebook, if you would like to come join us in chat, click on the live video feed and it'll bring you into StreamYard where you'll be able to chat with us. And if you would like to be on cam with us, I can send you the link so that you can actually participate in video chat as well. So that is open to everybody. And I invite everybody to come and join us.
Come ask us questions. We're open books.
I've never been on like a sort of live podcast type of stream before with other people. It's fun.
It's different, and it is once you get over the initial, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess you
Earl,
never quite know what will happen.
it's been so long with Earl that I don't even think he gets the anymore. But
No, not
yeah,
really.
he's just like so.
Eh,
Very laid back, but that's good.
I have been doing this. Oh, let's see. Started up the radio back in 2012, and
Mhm.
I've been doing it ever since. And uh, at first, I was doing a lot of audio podcasts, and it wasn't until just last year that I decided to switch over to video and
Mm.
do it this way. So it's like with technology, you gotta go with the changes. Even though being in the DJ industry, I kind of fought those changes a lot. So
Yeah.
I'm old school, and I'll be old school till the day I die.
I believe, isn't that how we met, Earl? I mean, you were switching over to video, and we both went to like Lynn's show up powerfully on video classes.
Yep,
Ah,
pretty much.
Yeah. Shout out
well,
to Lynn Davies. We missed you, man. We hope you're well.
Now, let's see. So, with your upbringing, were you involved in like music classes, or did you play instruments throughout school? And
yeah, I was kind of, well, all us kids, we had to learn piano.
Mhm.
That was just part of it. Like my mum was very musical. She was certainly trained to be like a flute teacher and piano teacher. So she was very musical, and we all had piano lessons from when we were tiny. But it's one of those things that I really fought it. I think because I was told I had to practice all the time, and I really, really fought it. And finally, I made such a fuss that my parents let me give up. And about maybe a year later, I suddenly realized that I actually did want to play, because I guess it was those teenage years and I suddenly began writing songs and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I actually want to play. I want to do music.
Mm-hmm.
So isn't it a funny thing? I'd probably be a lot better musician if I'd sort of continued with the lessons and stuff, technically. But it's like you don't always discover what you want to do if you're being made to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Don't force me to do.
Right.
Don't dig my heels in and be like, no. And then a
Exactly.
year later, why wasn't I doing this all along?
Yeah.
It's relatable. Just being able to, walk away and come and wait until it hits you that it's something that you need to do. It's part of
Yeah.
your purpose. It's part of what you want to do and what you want to become. And now, would you say you're more driven?
Oh, totally. I've been driven as a musician really since I kind of decided that's what I wanted to do, which was, not, only a couple of years after I was able to give up, but I suppose my path hasn't been, I have, okay. What I ended up doing, you see, I have dual nationality now. I grew up in Australia. Well, after living in Scotland as a small child, my family immigrated to Sydney and became Australian. But then I had 2 passports. And so as an adult, I ended up going to London for a 3-week holiday. Well, partly to Scotland really, but I had this one contact in London, a producer, and I went to see him. And he said, well, if you're serious, you're not going to stay in Sydney. You're going to have to come to London. and he said, I'll lend you a guitar and a 4-track. And that was it. I changed my ticket. I said, right, I'm going to stay in London. So and I was in London for 10 years. And I had a band, and I ended up having a 7-piece band, which was really cool. I had 2 keyboard players and a violinist, and we did, I worked with some great people, amazing experiences. I did 2 solo albums in those years, and then I went through a lot of change, and I was pregnant with my first child, and I went back to Australia. And that's where I had all my 4 children. So I had then, basically the next sort of 20 years in sort of outback Queensland up the side of the mountain, and until my family moved here a couple of years ago. So, so a lot of people as a musician, they would have probably spent the last 20 years in the back of a van, playing music and doing that way. But I haven't. I was with my kids and discovering a very different sort of part of myself, because I got quite involved in sort of the goddess movement in Australia. Gaia is the goddess association in Australia. Yeah. So I've just had a really different path, and it's only been, although I did do albums throughout that time, but with big gaps. So my first 2 were in 92 and 94. And then my next album was in 2004. And then the next one was 2012. And then since then it was sort of 16 and 19. So I've been much more, as my children got older and I had more time, I've begun doing much more music, and I'm doing more now than I have for 30 years, So it's really, I feel very centered and driven and excited about creating music.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, with you being over in Australia, you say you're over in Queensland, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you probably are familiar with Tamara, who is over there.
I don't Tamara?
Yeah, Tamara Forsland.
I don't think so. The main sort of peg musicians I've known there are like Wendy Rule and Spiral Dance.
Yep, I
Um,
know both of those quite well. Uh, but Tamara, she's a high priestess and an author over in Queensland. She lives out in a remote area. And I mean, when I'm talking remote, her driveway is like, I think she said 7 kilometers long.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
And she lives on a farm and she absolutely loves being remote like she is. It's like, wow. Okie dokie.
I would love to live there. I would love it.
Well, it's yeah. Where I ended up being for sort of 15 years was a place called Springbrook, which is it's actually kind of almost on the New South Wales border.
Oh,
And have you heard of Mount Warning? That's this.
no, I have not heard of that one.
Okay, well, it's just near Byron Bay, but it's basically this sort of volcanic plug, and then there's a rim of mountains right around. And where I lived was on the northern side of that rim, and you sort of could look up, and so you know there were waterfalls and rainforest, and it was a very it was just an amazing place in that. You know, I kind of lived. Well, I lived in an off-the-grid house. We built a sort of yurt on the side of the hill, quite a big yurt, but it was, you know, and it just was a very spiritual place among the trees, but with you could see the sea in the distance, you know, and it was very special. Australia is a really quite amazing. The feeling of the land and yeah. Just the connection I think people can have with the land there and with the Indigenous people. That was what, you know, the earth was their mother and, you know, it's very, very strong feeling.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I believe that quite wholeheartedly. Now, when you were mentioning Wendy Rule, yeah, I know Wendy quite well because a couple of years ago when she released her dual vinyl album, she contacted me right away and said that I'm coming on to the show. It's like, okay. That took me by surprise. It's like, okay, Wendy, no problem. I'll get you scheduled.
Oh yeah, she's pretty amazing with all the stuff she does.
Mm-hmm.
I played I met her at the Australian Goddess Conference, and not quite a few years ago now. But it was kind of, it was she was doing a lot of ceremony work there and a concert and stuff, and I played in the concert as well. It was the first time I'd sort of played. It was really the first time I played live, actually, in a long time, and it was quite a special sort of connection, you know, hearing her music and yeah, she's but she's yeah, she knows what she wants and she has these great plans and she puts them all together and they work. She's fantastic. Yeah.
Oh,
Tours and everything.
she is well known for that.
Yeah. And I think she was touring with Kellyanna.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which sounded amazing. I didn't get to see that, but yeah.
Yeah, right now, let's see. She's kind of taking a little bit of a hiatus because now that she is over here in New Mexico, where she has basically landed and planted roots. It's basically she's been doing some live videos in that area and sharing some really really good spiritual videos with everybody. So uh, it's always nice if I get to see that. Now, Chrissy, have you got any questions for Maryen?
Yeah, a couple. What's your next move? What can we look for? What can we look
Wow.
for and find you in upcoming?
Okay, well, the last three songs that I released are going to be, they're not on an album yet, so I am kind of working towards finishing an album at the moment, of which is still kind of untitled, but that is the very next thing I'm doing, because I have a little studio and I do most of my recording, just by myself. Yeah, I'm very much a work alone a lot of the time. So I'm kind of doing that, but I'm also living here in Guernsey has been very exciting for me, because you've got, we've got like dolmens from the Neolithic times, and most of the folklore in Guernsey is really looked through the eyes of the Inquisition, because they had. The church became very powerful here in those days, like in a couple of centuries, I think, and they burned a lot of witches, and it's really was very, very heavy. But there's some beautiful folklore, and I'm kind of looking at the folklore behind the folklore, if you see what I mean, because
Yep.
I feel that so much of it has been turned into a bad lesson, like everyone's evil, and when I kind of look at it, I go, well, hang on a minute, how is this tale told before the Inquisition, before they decided that everyone's, who puts their intention out, or does a ceremony or whatever, was evil? How does it look? And so I'm quite excited at kind of looking at that, and doing working on some things to do with Guernsey as a place. It's so yeah, the sort of folklore is something I'm kind of revving up towards and getting inspired by. The song you played a little bit of, there was The Haunted Lane, and so that was a little lyric video there that you played, but that was actually written because I was reading in this folklore, and I was reading of this place called the Haunted Lane, and I was looking for it and I couldn't find it. It's not on any of the modern maps, but when I looked further, I found some old maps that that had it showing, and I discovered it was one of the little sort of cliff paths that I walk my dog on regularly. So it was really quite weird, because but because some really bad stuff happened there. It was a couple of centuries apart, and then I was walking my dog. It's late in the evening or something, and this song began coming into my head, and so that is how that song was written, sort of walking the haunted lane, actually walking.
Well, that was going to be my next question. What was the story behind that one? But you just got done telling it. So.
Yeah. But the actual song was partly also about, I guess, walking along and suddenly having sort of images of what had happened before, and so sort of almost being haunted by the haunted lane, all the things that had happened there. So it's like, but it was very spooky.
I could understand that completely. Let's see now. A couple of things I was going to touch base on here. Yeah, what's the story behind "Come to Me"?
Well, the song "Come to Me," or
Yeah.
the album, yeah, okay. Okay, well, basically, I did this remote communities tour where I was running songwriting workshops and doing a show of this album I did, Femina Australis, which was the stories of 12 Australian women.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up, we took that, a little family band, and we went on the road to very, very remote communities through the top of sort of Queensland, Northern Territory, and mainly in Western Australia, down through the Kimberley. And right at the end of the tour, so it was the most amazing 4 months. It was absolutely incredible. But right at the end of it, like we sort of heading home, and we pulled up the caravan on just the side of the road, and it was the edge of the Pilbara Desert, and it was just sort of all red earth and stuff. And I woke up the next morning, and I was like still in a dream, you know, and I woke with the sort of vision of this voice calling me, this female voice, come to me from the land, and this vision of me actually leaving the caravan and just walking off into the desert. And then like we sort of got up very fast and into the car and drove off. And I still was sort of in this dream with this vision. And so I wrote it all down and I sang it into my phone, you know. It was very intense, and I wrote the whole thing and got the whole thing there in the car as we're driving along. So it was that's I mean, I love it when a song comes to me in that way, but that really was like still in the dream, in the vision, you know, when I wrote that. Yeah.
I've heard other musicians have that same experience, that
Yeah.
they've had a song come to them while they're in a car, while they're whether they're driving down the road, or whether they're out out by themselves somewhere, and yeah, all kinds of different experiences. But I've heard that same thing.
Mm. Yeah. It's just like it's sort of an outpouring into you. I think that's how you sort of feel it. It's like this gift that's just poured into you, and it's like you trying to get it down, relate it, remember it.
And let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see. The other one I was wanting to talk about here. The Spirit Alt Mix.
Oh yes. Well, I have got a normal mix of spirit too that I haven't yet released because it was quite funny. I did these two different mixes, and then I played it in like I have a little club, and I put it in and said, hey, I've got these two different versions of the song, you know, which should I release? Which do you like best? And I was pretty sure I was going to do the main one, but almost everyone, they like the alt mix version. So that was the one that I put out as a single. Spirit. It was written really when, you know, I guess I hadn't been in Guernsey very long, and COVID had hit and we were all locked down. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's very, very introspective. But then it was like, you know, the actual chorus is, Spirit lifts me up, Spirit takes me to another place, rest and revitalize, Spirit soothes my weary mind, fills me full of hope, full of love that I might love some more. Spirit soothes my soul. Spirit gives me the will to do more. So I open my eyes, clear against the sky. I know I'm loved. Yeah, thank you. What
I'm getting a concert in my living room. I'm loving this.
yeah.
Tell you what, you have a very similar sound to another very good friend of mine who is a singer-songwriter.
Mhm.
She's over in, I think she's out of California, but her name is, uh, she goes by Nymphia.
Nymphia.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she is absolutely fantastic. The last album she put out was called Naked Kate because she had done a complete album and to pay homage to Kate Bush.
Okay.
And she did a fantastic job with that album. And like I said, you have a very similar sound to her. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Mm. I was thinking that one of my albums that you guys would probably find quite interesting is the one that I did after I'd met Wendy. In fact, at that concert I played with Wendy Rule, I sang a song called "The Red Tent" that I'd recently written. I ran a little festival for 10 years called the M Fest, Celebration of Motherhood and the Creativity of Women. And so, I was very, very involved in, women's art and well, I guess I have 4 kids and, I had 2 home births near the end, living up a mountain. It seemed easier and all worked well. And so I kind of found this amazing community of women that I'd never experienced before. So I wrote this song, "The Red Tent," and I wrote a whole album called "Stories from the Red Tent," and it was really a concept album of a group of women talking, and you talk about everything, don't you? When you're a group of women. So that's the cover art. I don't know if you can see that. Yes, I think
Yep.
you can. That was the cover art, Stories from the Red Tent, and it sort of opens up, and it's got like pregnant bellies and things, and it's got like a tent. There's a very much a pagan artist called Sharon McLeod, who she does a lot of tarot cards and things, along with she did Animal Dreaming Tarot with Scott Alexander King, who's an Australian, does animal dreaming. Anyway, she did. She's a friend, and she made me a painting, for the front cover and stuff like that. But it was very. It's very kind of. Well, it's just that it's set. It's set in that time, and it's there are certain songs in that, which let me just think through this now. Starflow is one that's very, very women centered, and deep in a woman's memory is about, well, it talks about sort of Aphrodite and Joan of Arc and all sorts of people, but yeah, that's that I think was when I kind of had a bit of awakening for discovering this community of women and the goddess, and yeah, it was interesting, very creative time. Yeah, so I think that's one that probably.
Cool. Now,
Well,
is there a certain deity that resonates with you personally?
oh, not entirely, possibly Bridget. There's a lot of, like, I think I'm more connected with sort of the mother, as in the Mother Earth, and like I'm very interested in the whole crone type of things, but there isn't really a deity that I've totally connected with. I'm probably more sort of nature based. I'm like the stars and the wind and the sea, and I think that's I've always been quite sort of solitary and get very involved in the land, and like I can commune with trees very nicely. Yeah. So
No, I can understand that because I mean there are so many different ones that I believe that a lot of people resonate with. Brig is one of them. Hecate. Um, um, there's there are so many different ones that I know a lot of women probably resonate with, and which goes along right along with that CD.
mm.
I'm interested to know, are you still an involved part of that movement, that festival, that the whole all about women thing?
Oh, well, I'm very involved in it in myself, but it's like the festival isn't running back in Queensland anymore. I think it kind of became quite big, and everything became much more bureaucratic, and it was run completely on like it was all on an exchange, like you might do a show, and somebody like it wasn't a money thing. It was all very much everyone in the whole community would turn up and put up a giant tent, and that was almost a ceremony in itself. In fact, putting up the tent and then pulling it down at the end, because we literally had this giant red tent that was amazing.
Hmm.
And here in Guernsey, I have connected with the pagan moot, and they aren't kind of doing a lot at the moment. It's been very difficult, just these times of meeting up and everything, But I've certainly met some really nice and interesting people through that. And most of them are women. So
we're making I don't want to say we're making a comeback, but we're definitely making leaps and bounds in leaving our marks
yes,
on the world, and I think that's something that is important.
yep,
But I don't think it's something that we need to we don't need to create and join movements over it. It's just we need to be making impacts as women on people's lives. And I
yeah,
think you grasp the essence of that.
yes. It was funny actually. When I was first pregnant, it was like I felt like I joined the secret society. It was really weird because suddenly, for the first time, women would talk to me about stuff, and it was all stuff I'd never heard of, because I guess I was like a rock musician in London, and it was like 95% of the people were men, and it was just a very different life, but it was absolutely amazing. I discovered that community of women, after I first had my first baby, and particularly once I moved to a small rural community, in the woods and the hills, very, very, very much so. And I became very involved in home birth, because it was very a political thing in Australia as well, as I think it is in a lot of the states as well. But because I actually, interesting thing here, being from Iowa, because
Mhm.
my brother lived in Iowa City for 12 years, and his wife, who's from Peoria, but they met in Iowa. She was very involved in the home birth movement there, which is, and was sort of training to be a midwife and stuff, which is how I discovered that there was sort of a different way to.
Nice. Yeah, Iowa City is about, so let's see, just a what? Oh, about hour and 20 minutes south of here.
Right. Okay. And are you there too, Christy, or where are you?
No, I'm actually in Utah.
You're in Utah.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
I'm just shy of the West Coast.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've been to Ogden before. I used to have friends in
Ogden
Ogden.
is where I'm at, yeah. So
Yeah,
you're
right.
familiar with the beauty and the views and the
Yes.
people here. Nice.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had snow last night and it's all melting today.
Oh, wow.
I wish I could say that. Right now it's 2 degrees here.
You probably got 5 foot outside?
No, we've got more along the lines of about 2 to 3 inches. But
Okay.
yeah, we've been dealing with very cold temperatures because according to what the thing is telling me now, it's 2 degrees Fahrenheit here.
Mm-hmm.
No, thank you. You can stay right there, Earl. I've never been a fan of the cold. I grew up in Phoenix.
Yeah, right. That's like a
So
hairdryer in your face.
yeah, I got here to Utah and I was like, "Ooh, this is pretty." And then winter hit and I was like, "What is this?" I don't like
Oh,
it. But laying down roots here now. My other half is from here and it's growing on me.
yeah,
It's
that's
growing
good.
on me. So
Oh, the thing that I make a joke about is that um, it's warmer in Alaska than it is here
Oh, really?
because it's been in the 30s up in Alaska right now. And I'm
right
like,
now, that doesn't mean
seriously,
every other year.
seriously, come on.
Hmm, hmm.
Oh, well, I was once I was in Iowa one Christmas, and I remember there being a lot of snow, and I think it was like minus 40 degrees when I landed in Chicago to change planes, you know. Something crazy. It was like if it's cold.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I've been there, done that. Yeah, there was one year that I spent a full month in negative 40 below temps,
Hmm.
which was just plain nuts. And yeah.
Well, we had a conversation with my other half and his mom this morning. She's down in Moab, so she's got the really nice weather, but it's like cold down there right now.
Right.
Um, but they had a talk about the years that they remember. The lowest my other half remembers it getting down to was like -2,
Okay.
or was it -19? -19, I think, was the lowest that he remembers it getting in his 33 years here. But his
That's
mom remembers back to 78 when it got
Mhm.
down to -40 here.
yeah. Wow. Wow. That is really cold. Like here, it doesn't usually snow. I think it's 4 degrees Celsius at the moment, I think, or it was earlier today. But and I kind of actually wish it could just be a little bit colder because I'd
Mm.
like snow because I'm not very used to snow. It didn't snow in Queensland.
Here, I'm sending you some. Can you see me?
Yeah.
I don't handle the cold well.
Ah.
It looks pretty, but
Yeah, I
Mm.
gotta wear ski outfits,
yeah,
you gotta have
my
all those thermals and yeah.
my body doesn't handle it well, so I prefer the summers here. I mean, compared to where I'm from, growing up in Phoenix where it was 110 in January, um,
Right.
being here in the summer where it maxes out at like 90, 92, I'm like, "Oh, this is great.
Mhm.
This is great." Um, but then winter hits, and I'm like, what was I thinking?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
hey, I just remembered that I began talking about Iowa because I was talking about my sister-in-law. Because yes, so it was the sort of home birth movement, because you were talking about just
Mm.
doing stuff for your community. And I was part of a thing where, well, basically it was well, at the time, it's been reused since then, but the phrase that the mother of all rallies was used, where basically women came to Parliament House in Canberra, so like, you know, Australia sort of thing, asking for the choice to be able to actually, you know, birth at home. And I think that was a really, really important thing. Of course, it was ignored by. It was the first time women had marched in, like, since the 70s, and it was ignored pretty much by almost all sort of media and stuff. It was raining, like 2,000 women in the rain, and I got to sing my song "Home Birth" there, which was very special, because it was like, that was kind of why it was written. You know, it was the story of my third son's birth, which was my first home birth. Yeah. In fact, it is on YouTube. We made my friend, who was a birth photographer, made
Okay.
a video, or her birth images. We put it with my song "Home Birth," and it's up there on YouTube. I hadn't done any YouTube before, so somebody else uploaded it for me, so it's still on a different channel, as it were. But if you Google Maryen Cairns "Home Birth" on YouTube, it comes up, and I think it's had I think it's over 50,000 views. It's had, but yeah. So that was quite. It felt to me very important to actually just stand up and say, hey, this is a choice for women, because I also find that it's very. You know, we all get busy in our lives, and so many people say, "Oh, I don't care about that because I've had my kids." But I used to say to them, "Yes, but you've got a daughter, and what about when she has a child, or what about your son when he has a family?" It's like, you know, we want these things to be choices for future generations, people to have choice in their lives. Yeah. So anyway, that was. But I knew about all of that because of Anne from Iowa. Yes.
Very cool.
And
Very
from
cool.
Iowa, nice.
Yeah.
It's not really a movement that I've been strongly behind,
Mm-hmm.
but I definitely believe that kind of paving a path for my daughter, when she was born, things kind of, that was my shift. She's 23 now, so it was a while ago.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now that she's come into adulthood on her own,
Mm-hmm.
having laid some of that, more just example on my part. Look, if you want to be something, you just you do it, and you do it, and you do it until it becomes what you are. Um, I'm just now getting to the point where I'm excited to see what comes next for her. I've reached the goals that you set for yourself early on in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you reach a certain point where you're like, okay, well, this is what I want to accomplish before, you know, the end of my life. And we tend to forget that that's like 80 to 100 years these days. So I hadn't really thought past 40.
Yeah.
I'm 46 now. So it's all just kind of been a guessing game, and let's try this and see what works, and so on and so forth. And I think this part now of my life is more exciting for me,
Mhm.
and where I really think I'm going to be able to make a difference for the younger women coming up behind me,
Yeah.
because I don't have a lot of the things that tie a lot of us down in
Mhm.
the earlier parts of our lives raising our kids. There's a lot that you can get accomplished when you're at home, but when you have those responsibilities and obligations and things that just need to be done so that they're getting what they need, you
Yeah.
don't have the ability to focus. But when they become adults,
Yes. That's when we have that ability.
that's when you have that, and that's when I really wanna work it now, you know what I mean?
I
Yeah.
I
totally
really
do.
I really want to build on that, and finding someone else across the world for me whose focus has been that for, quite some time. I'm excited to meet you, so thank you very much for taking the opportunity to be with us, because it's not a rarity, but every addition to the community is, my community. The
Yes.
community has already existed, but now you're part of my community, and that's awesome to me, so thank you.
Hey, thank you. That's I tell you what, it's awesome for me too. It's like it's been an interesting thing, moving so far away from the community that I was sort of living in
Mhm.
and being with, and as I said, then the whole isolation thing, and being on a small island. So even when it's not always that easy for me to even go to the UK, and do things. Um, and it's like I feel like this is where the whole internet, although certainly the streaming and being able to talk, has just opened my world. You
Mhm.
know, it's really exciting.
Oh, yeah. Okay, now we've been streaming. We've been having Marianne's website scrolling down on the bottom here, and so you want to tell everybody where they can locate you. 'Cause I know that you've got your website, plus you're on Facebook, and I know that you've got several videos on YouTube. So,
Yeah, look, I'm pretty much. I do have a small presence on most of the streaming services. I do a little bit of Twitter and a bit of
mm,
Instagram and that. Facebook would be my main sort of social media. And I have what I do. I'm kind of starting my own community as well. Like um, I give people a little EP, which is like one song off each album, and
mhm,
so people sign up for that, and then if they like it, they're sort of invited into a private Facebook group, which Earl is now part of. And so I do live streams there most Fridays. But I'm working on though a sort of like I've got quite a big website on maryencairns.com, but I'm working on a kind of internal website for that called the Cairns Club, which is going to be sort of a whole new level. And there's going to be,
mhm.
like a song sheet download. So if people want to play songs, they're the chords and a lot of stuff like the Femina Australis Remote Communities Tour. So there's going to be like a whole website but also like, yeah, it's a deepening of a community. There'll be more sort of Zoom calls and Zoom concerts with a sort of hangout afterwards and stuff like that. So I'm kind of working on that, and I'm hoping in like a month or so to be able to actually open that up and invite people in, because I think in this day of musicians, when everyone can hear my music for free,
Mm.
Spotify, YouTube, um, and so I guess it's another way of kind of making connection with people as a musician, and giving people a chance to support me in what I do, as
Mm.
sort of a bit of a sort of exchange. It's like,
Right.
I give you the music and you might come into my club and it's sort of, yeah, exchange. So I'm kind of working on that little community at the moment. But if you go to Facebook or Instagram or any of those places, really, you can pretty much find your way to my website. And connect.
Excellent.
I will be doing that.
Great.
I will be doing that for sure.
Very
Girl,
cool.
you're already in on everything, right?
Pretty much, yep. Pretty much. All right. Well, I definitely want to thank you for taking time out to join us this afternoon and this evening, your time.
Yes.
It's definitely been an enjoyable day being able to talk with you and get to know you more and find out what you're doing. And we'll definitely be keeping in touch.
Great. No, well, it's been really, really nice to come on your show. And as I said, I hadn't done one that's like a live thing, so it's like it's cool. Yeah, really nice. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. You've been listening to another edition of Iowa Pagan News on the Prairie Land Radio Network. And as always, if you have questions for us, contact me directly at earl@iapnradio.net. You can also send emails to iowapagannews@gmail. And then you can also connect with Maryen on her website. And also you can find her on Facebook as well to connect with her there. And if you have questions for Christy, you can shoot me an email. I'll make sure that I've got her emails posted so you can make contact with her as well. As always, pleasant journeys, everyone. Stay safe. We'll be back again with you tomorrow for our Wednesday evening chat, and we're going to be joined by Harold Carter, pagan rapper. And that's going to be an interesting conversation, but it's also going to be fun as well. Have a good day, everyone. We're going to be out of here for the day. Pleasant journeys.